Welcome, Gunrunner.
Everybody, Q&A the Laird here, and I've got a magazine review for you this week, and we're going to look at some more issues of Edge. Those who follow my channel will know I've done quite a few of these already, and I still have quite a lot of them to do, so I thought I'd come back to this one. I've got some other ones to do as well. I've got more CMVG and more Your Sinclair now to do, and I've got some other stuff as well. Like, I've got some American mags actually, like Game Pro and EGM to take a look at some point as well, which might please my viewers from the other side of the pond, because I think all the mags I've looked at so far pretty much are UK mags. Although that said, Edge was actually probably the first British magazine to also be distributed in America, where it was pretty much the same magazine, but known as, I think it was called Next Gen, I seem to remember, over in the States. So I can't think of another one that was before it that got distributed there. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that makes it the first. But there we go. So today we actually have 3 issues from 1996. We have January 1996, which is the first one here. I've got April and I've got March. So I've got 2 consecutive issues there. I'm just missing the February one at the middle of them. I'll have to see if I can acquire that, because I don't think that's in my stack. I didn't notice it when I picked these up. So there we go. So a pretty boring cover this time. Hip or hype. Video game marketing comes of age. Yeah, not one of Edge's greatest covers. There's some really nice art on some of their covers, but that's really boring. So there we go. Issue 28 of Edge magazine. Which is, as you know, is still running today, in the UK at least. So let's have a look what we've got in this issue. And this is always the hard part, getting the magazine to stay up properly so you can see it. So let's have a look at the contents. We've got Dangerous Games. Fergus McGovern, who's was the head of Probe Software, sadly passed away some years ago. We've got some stuff about 3DO in here. We've got some arcade reviews. So let's go through. So there we go. M2 Blueprints. Net 3DO 100 million. So that's talking about Matsushita, who of course owned Panasonic and other electronics companies. They ended up buying the exclusive rights for the 3DO M2. And they never released it, so completely pointless. Wasted loads of money on acquiring it and never released it. Very sad. Even developed games for it. It was really close to release, final production prototypes and everything, but just never went ahead with it. Nintendo 64 launch slips into 1996. Because of course, though this is a 1996 issue, January 96, it would have been December 95 that it would have hit the shelves. So if you were confused by that headline. Apple talking about 3D graphics. Atari and virtual reality bust up. Talking about the falling out with virtuality. A lot of that was to do with the fact that they hadn't been paying them. Like a lot of developers are working on JQ stuff. Of course, this is 1996. So the end for the JQ was nigh. BT, British Telecom, talking about the beginnings of online play. PlayStation tighten grips on Japan, so obviously talking about its massive success. Letters pages. So actually, it's even talking about there some of the first websites you could go to online. There's an EA Sports advert. So we've got Into the Shadows from Scavenger, first preview there for PC. And we've got some arcade stuff, so Virtual On, which also came out for the Saturn later on. 19XX, the latest in the series that started in 1942. Crypt Killers from Konami, which also went to the Saturn and PlayStation later on. For Intel, Resident Evil. So that's the PlayStation. Obviously, the beginning of an absolutely huge franchise, which is still going to this day. I never liked the first game. I thought it was far too clunky. Could never get the hang of those tank-like controls. Never really enjoyed it. I had the Saturn version. Never got into it. Secret of Mana 2. Scorcher, Saturn, brilliant game. Scavenger, really good game. That I love Scorcher. And Amok, another scavenger game for the Saturn. And Amok is even better, I think. Amok is such a massively underrated Saturn game. Really is. Big Red Racing. Says, oh yeah, it's talking about different from the usual Ridge Racer clones, so they're different. Style Fader, PlayStation. Can't say I'm even familiar with that at all. Samurai Spirits RPG, which I think that never got released, didn't it? I'm pretty sure that never got released. Shame. It's for Neo Geo CD. You can't buy this. No, there's still coming Ultra 64 there as well. But yeah, I didn't buy it either. Street Fighter Alpha, that's PlayStation Saturn. Saturn version was the better one of the two, because Saturn was much better at 2D stuff. Video Game Violence, talking about that. One of the conversations that still comes up to this day, people talking about video game violence. Back issues, that actually might be useful for seeing what ones I've got in terms of the covers to look out for. This is that hip or hype article. Sega Saturn ad campaign, it was quite good, that was. So now we've got some reviews. So we've got the amazing Saturn port of Virtua Fighter 2. First open test screen. I was playing that just recently, actually, at an event I went to. 9 out of 10. It still holds up. Still a brilliant conversion. It really is. They say agree. Actra Soccer. That's the PC CD-ROM version. I had the Saturn version. Actually, yeah, I didn't have the Saturn version. Actra Soccer had Euro 96, which was basically Actra Soccer reskinned. It was okay. The controls were a bit clunky though, so it wasn't a particularly fluid game, unfortunately. 7 out of 10, so they thought it was alright. Hexen, good game. Again, I had that on the Saturn. I give it 9 out of 10. Of course, it was kind of like a semi-sequel to Doom in a different setting. Polestar, Neo Geo CD shooter up, good shooter that. I think it would have been quite hard though. 8 out of 10. Hang on GP, they go 6 out of 10. Here comes one of my cats, it looks like. He's probably going to walk into the camera. Mr. Rufus there. No, he hasn't come on yet, but he's right. He's walking along the top, so you can't quite see him. Hang on GP, 95, as I say. An update of obviously the classic Super Hang On, but in 3D. Graphics were a little bit ugly on it, but once you got into it, it's actually a pretty good game, I thought. And I thought it was a little harshly treated. Although obviously Manx TT was better, but yeah, I thought it was better than a lot of people said it was. To be honest, gameplay wise, the graphics were a little messy, as I say. Layer section, good Saturn shooter that. Crusader, that's the PC CD-ROM version. Starfighter, that's the 3DO version. Brilliant game, probably one of my favourite 3DO games actually. I bought the Saturn version when it came out because I loved it when I played it on the 3DO. Back in the day, because I worked at Game and we had a 3DO that we used to play on all the time, and I played a lot of Starfighter on that. And so when the Saturn version came out, I got that, which I really enjoyed as well. I like that kind of game. Warhawk on the PlayStation. I think I've played that 1 or 2 times. I seem to remember it being quite good. What did they give that though? They gave it 7. Yeah, I seem to remember enjoying it. So what did they give Starfighter? I didn't look. I gave that 7. I would have given that more. Well, that's a 9 out of 10 on 3DO, to be honest. Retro View Namco Classics on the PlayStation. They were good, those Namco Museum compilations. So here's our adverts. That's funny. Personalities and everything. Advert for Game. I would have been working at Game around this time, so talking about them. Want to go and work at Probe or Codemasters. Andrew Spencer Studios, never heard of them. Rareware, we're going to work at Rare. Bidos. Sony. There's the great interview of Fergus McGovern, of course, the head of Probe. A very, very important, influential Development House Pro, did so much porting stuff, especially on the 8-bits back in the day. But infamously, I think Outrun, which didn't turn out so good. But there we go. And there's the Q&A bit. So there we go. Let's have a grab another issue. I've got the right one. Got the next one in line, which is March. So yes, so March 1996. That's issue 30, and Edge, the 50 top power players in the video game industry, is their head article. Not particularly attractive cover once again. In fact, all these ones from 1996 have got quite rubbish covers compared to some of the earlier covers. The really good rendered images on them are much better than these. So what we've got in this one, we've got an interview with Jeremy Smith from Core Design, of course. Some stuff from Capcom. More arcade reviews. So yeah, let's have a look. So talking about Matsushita again, and M2. It looks like they're talking about them possibly selling M2. Not being sure about what they're going to do with it, and possibly selling it to Sega, which seems strange since they had Saturn. So why would they want M2 as well? Pippin, which of course was an absolutely abysmal failure. A team up between Bandai and Apple. Everyone kind of forgets that Apple released the games console and it did really badly. Atari Corp falls on hard times. So I already mentioned that 1996 was the year that the Jaguar was officially discontinued, and that kind of is a early indication of that, as it said, talks about them laying off loads of their staff, getting ready to wind down. Of course, they ended up merging with JTS Storage and all that business. Points, it's talking about Defender there. I thought they were a bit harsh with some of the Jaguar stuff. 3DO Online, Zork Nemesis. So here's our article with IDOS. Let's stay in place there. Virtual On again on the arcades. We already had that once. So we get another article on Virtual On. They must have really liked Virtual On, but that's an interview talking about it. So another pages won't stay in place. Desert War by Jaleco. I'm not even familiar with that, I have to say, at all. The Way Games Ought to Go, High Octane Games here by Chris Crawford. Real legend in the gaming industry. Started off at Atari. Neon. F1. Big game that was for the PlayStation. I think a lot of people forget how big that was, because that was the first time we had like a proper official F1 game. It had everything on it. It had, you know, all the tracks and all the cars and everything really. But it was incredibly impressive back in the day. I remember my friend got it, who had a PlayStation. I was blown away by it, to be honest, the first time I saw it. It just seems so realistic. Time Commander, it's PC. Descent 2, Dark Savior, that's Saturn, isn't it? Yep. Spycraft PC, another stupid N64 advert. Back issues. So there's the article about Capcom. Quite interesting for the time. They just released Resident Evil and Street Fighter Alpha and stuff like that. Talk about some of their earlier titles, so as well as if you noticed screenshots there, stuff like Gunsmoke, Commando and Bionic Commando. Want to go and work at Psygnosis? There you go. There's an advert for them. They're usually at the back, those kind of adverts. So it's got one further forward. So the 50 power players, David Braben, Miyamoto, Sid Meier, Eugene Jarvis, Peter Molyneux, Alexei Pajitnov, Dave Perry, John Romero, all hard to argue with any of them really. Tim Schafer, Chris Roberts, Tim and Chris Stamper, Wild Bill Steely, Will Wright, Yu Suzuki, Hishashi Kaneko. Not sound familiar with him. Marty Kitazawa, he's SNK, Tom Kalinske, Trip Hawkins, Sam and Jack Trammell. Good to see them there, but they're obviously about to bow out of the games industry at that point. Howard Lincoln, Hayao Nakayama, Terry Tokunaka, Hiroshi Yamauchi, Tom Jermaluk. Ollie Silicon Graphics, Bill Gates, Michael Spindler's Apple, F.A. Malgers, he's Philips, Chris Crawford, there we go, we already interviewed him, Yoichi Morishita, Nolan Bushnell, still gets in there, even though he wasn't doing a lot, Martin Alper, Jonathan Ellis, Ian Hetherington, Brian Fargo, Kelly Flock, Greg Fishback. There's a lot of people I'm not familiar with. Richard Garrett, I know him, Bing Gordon, Ken Kutaragi, obviously, Larry Probst, Joel Hochberg, what was he? Rare, apparently. Keiji Kazuki, who is he? Konami, okay. Felix McGovern from Probe, yep. Masai Nakamura from Namco, yep. Tom Zito, Masayoshi Takamura, who's he? Japanese Finance Minister, strange one. Jeff Crammond, David Gilbranson, RJ McCall and Dave Niddell, and 3DO, who also, of course, created the Lynx, Gunpei Yoki, and Masayuki Yamura. So we've got Test Screen to Shinden 2, 7 out of 10, yeah, fair. Total NBA, 9 out of 10, me. Never got into that really. Darius Gaydon, that was a good game. Is that the Saturn version? Yeah. 6, they didn't like it, I did. I like the Darius games. Horned Owl, PlayStation 5. Defender 2000, a rare Jackie review in Edge. And they hated it, 3 out of 10, which I just think is just ridiculous score. Really ridiculous. And they basically say that Defender's an old game and no one cares about it. So it's really, really stupid. I don't think it was the greatest game. I think there's problems, especially with the 2000 mode, the ship being too big and it being too fast. But don't think it deserves that low score. Marathon 2. 8 out of 10. Famous for the Mac, obviously, and was on the Pippin, the Marathon game. Death Keep, that's 3DO. Foes of Ali, 3DO, 4 out of 10. Didn't like that much then. I can't say I played that actually. Street Fighter Alpha, is that the Saturn one? No, PlayStation, 8 out of 10. The Saturn one was better. Dungeon Master ST on the Retro View, which is cool to see. Obviously a very famous classic there. And there's our usual adverts to go and work at various games developers. And then our interview with Jeremy Smith from Core Design, which is good because he talks about all sorts of things. He talks about 32X there, Saturn. I'm pretty sure he mentioned the Jaguar in there as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting interview. Very interesting indeed. And there's our letters. And that's it. So grab our next one, put that on the back there. So we have April 1996, that's issue 31. And as I said, it continues the rather boring covers thing, new game culture. I mean, what the hell is that about? You wouldn't even know, would you, really, unless you read the magazine? Very strange. So there we go. Now let's get the magazine stand up. That's it. So there we go. What we've got in here then? Virtua Fighter stuff by the looks of things. Some Grand Prix 2 and F1 and Bullfrog. Nothing really stands out from that, but we'll have a look when we go through the magazine. So Model 3 Sega affirms arcade supremacy. Virtua Fighter Kids, so obviously Sega's still big in the arcades now. N64 Japanese delay looms, so Power VR holds new standard in PC 3D. PC was just becoming a big gaming platform at this time, really big. As the Amiga started to die out, especially in this country. Saturn gets ROM and link-up boost. But Square, cyber censorship, Silicon Graphics and Nintendo, their thing. Chris Crawford again. Adeline, I'm not sure who they are actually. There were people who left Infogrames to form their own company. Okay. So there's F1 pre-screen again. Die Hard Trilogy, PlayStation. I love that on the Saturn. I had the Saturn version. Final Fantasy 7, Jumping Flash 2, Moto Tune GP2, Gun Griffin, Saturn. Yeah, I liked that on Saturn, really did. It's similar kind of in a way to Iron Soldier on the Jaguar, which is obviously I adored. So I liked Gun Griffin. I like those mech games. Legend of Thor, Conquest of the New World, Destiny. Talking about Bullfrog there, and Larry Bundy's best friend Peter Molyneux. I've written many a Peter Molyneux joke in my time when I was writing scripts for Larry. Making moves. There we go. Best shoes. Then this is New Game Culture article. So it's talking about the kind of thing with the PlayStation. Everyone talked about it, kind of this fusion with kind of clubbing culture at the time. It was the kind of audience they were aiming themselves at. So that's what that's about, basically. UK dance music. And of course they released that thing for the PlayStation, didn't they? Music, so you could make your own dance music tracks on it. Grand Prix 2 on the PC CD-ROM. Good old Jeff Crammond. Genius. So they gave that 9 out of 10. Not surprised. It's pretty much the most realistic thing you'd find at the time. Guardian Heroes on the Saturn. Not quite my favourite Saturn game. I'd say Sega Rally just about pips it. But Guardian Heroes is probably a close second. They only gave it 8 out of 10. For me, that's a 10 out of 10 game. Very surprised it only got an 8. I think it was genius, especially at the time. So good. Alien Trilogy, that's the PlayStation version. I had the Sega Saturn version back in the day. Bought it pretty much as soon as it came out. And was really disappointed because it seemed a massive step back after Alien vs Predator on the Jaguar. Really did seem a massive step back. The graphics were nowhere near as good as AVP. And it lacked the variation of AVP. Obviously, you only had one mode on this, whereas AVP had the 3 modes. So they gave it 7 out of 10. But yeah, it was nowhere near as good as AVP in my opinion. Duke Nukem 3D. Great game. Had it on the Saturn. 8 out of 10. Big Red Racing. PC CD-ROM. What we got? Arcade. Last Bronx. Sega. It was alright. Had it on the Saturn. Salamander 2, Dungeons and Dragons Shadow over Mystara. Had that on the Saturn. Really like the Dungeons and Dragons games. Well, have it on the Saturn. Didn't have it back then. I bought an import version some years ago. It's really expensive now as well. Quest for Fame, PC CD-ROM. Retro View, Namco Museum 2. So we've got a few on this one. Gradius Deluxe Pack and Irem Arcade Classics. I've got that Irem one for the Saturn actually. It's pretty cool. Here's our usual adverts for go and work with games developers. And that's pretty much it. Another cat's just turned out. Whether he'll decide to be in the video, I don't know. Because it's lovely and sunny here and I have my back door open so the cats are coming and going as they wish. Yeah, that's it. Not a lot more to say. So there we go. 3 more issues of Edge magazine. So I've got lots more magazine reviews coming up. I've also got a stack of book reviews. Those who follow me on social media will have already seen me posting about them. I actually did post something about them on my YouTube channel already, so you might have already seen a preview of what that is. But yeah, I've got loads and loads and loads of stuff to get on with. More hardware reviews coming up, obviously more documentaries and amazing facts videos and such like. Lots coming to the channel over the summer. So I hope you carry on enjoying the content. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been the Retro Laird and I'll see you all again for another one very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.